There is an ancient symbol, a serpent eating its own tail. The Ouroboros. It appears in Aztec myth as the end of the world, in Greek philosophy as eternity, in medieval alchemy as transformation. Same image, different meanings. But every culture that drew it understood something we'd forgotten. The thing that sustains you can also be the thing that destroys you. Self-consumption, a cycle that feeds on itself until there's nothing left. And this is exactly what your mind does. It creates a version of you, the acceptable you, the successful you, the you that fits in, and then it spends your entire life defending that version, protecting it, justifying it, refusing to let it die. Even when that version is killing you, you want to quit the job that's grinding you down. Your mind says, but you invested 10 years, you can't throw that away. You want to pursue something that actually matters to you. Your mind says, that's not realistic. That's not what people like you do. You want to stop performing and just be yourself. Your mind says, but what if they reject you? What if you're not enough? Your mind, trying to protect you, becomes your prison guard. That's the Ouroboros, creating and destroying, building and devouring, never breaking the cycle, because the cycle is all it knows. Most people live their entire lives like this. They optimize the performance, they defend the persona, they invest decades into becoming someone they're not even sure they want to be, and usually, they don't realize they're trapped until something breaks, a crisis, a loss, or that moment at 3 a.m. when the noise finally stops and a thought slips through. I've been living someone else's answer to a question I never asked. Then comes the real choice: go back to sleep, or wake up and find out which part of your mind has been steering all along. In 1973, an anthropologist named Ernest Becker published a book called The Denial of Death. He won the Pulitzer Prize for it 2 months after he died of cancer. He was 49. The timing matters. Becker spent his life studying how humans cope with the terror of mortality, and what he discovered explains why so many people wake up decades into their lives and realize they've been living the wrong one. His core idea was simple and brutal. We cannot face the reality of death without overwhelming anxiety, so we deny it, and the way we deny it shapes almost everything we do. Becker said we build our lives around 2 kinds of heroism. Cultural heroism. You adopt a socially approved role. Good employee, good citizen, normal person. Your life matters because you belong to something bigger. The company, the nation, the system. Personal heroism. You create something that expresses who you actually are. Your life matters because you are irreplaceable. Most people choose cultural heroism, not because it's better, because it's safer. And this is where the Ouroboros begins. Because cultural heroism requires you to suppress parts of yourself. The strange parts, the inconvenient parts, the parts that want things the system doesn't reward. So your mind splits. One part becomes the manager. This is who we are. This is what we do. Don't question it. The other part, the part that knows what you actually want, gets locked away. And your mind spends enormous energy keeping it locked. Because if you really listened to that voice, you might have to change everything. Søren Kierkegaard had a name for this. He called it forgetting your true name, not your legal name. Your real one. The one you had before you learned which dreams were realistic and which were childish. He watched people become strangers to themselves, busy, productive, respected, and completely lost. He called this the sickness unto death, not depression, not sadness, but despair at not being yourself. And the worst part, most people don't even know they're sick. They're not miserable. They're something worse. They're numb. As Virginia Woolf once wrote, all outer show and inward emptiness. That's the Ouroboros at work, the performance consuming the person. Friedrich Nietzsche saw the same problem. He said the issue isn't just fear, it's laziness. Becoming yourself requires constant effort. You have to tolerate uncertainty, misunderstanding, judgment. You have to build meaning instead of borrowing it. So most people choose what Nietzsche called the hay wagon. You can ride a wild stallion, or you can fall asleep on a moving wagon. The stallion is dangerous, unpredictable, but you're awake. You're steering. The hay wagon is comfortable. You're moving, but you're not choosing the direction. You're just being carried by momentum that isn't yours. And because it's so comfortable, you fall asleep. That's the Ouroboros in another form. Comfort over aliveness. Safety over authenticity. The known over the possible. Now here's where neuroscience makes this even darker. Psychiatrist Iain McGilchrist showed that your 2 brain hemispheres don't just process information differently, they create different worlds. The left hemisphere is the manager, Categories, rules, certainty, control. This is realistic, this is safe, this is how it's done. The right hemisphere is the explorer, context, meaning, possibility. What if there's another way? Modern society is built almost entirely for the left hemisphere, efficiency over meaning, systems over souls, metrics over mystery. When the left hemisphere dominates, it slowly silences the right. And that's the neurological Ouroboros. The manager consuming the explorer, the performer destroying the person. You don't notice it happening because the manager controls the story you tell yourself about your life. Look at Vincent van Gogh. He sold one painting in his lifetime. One. He lived in poverty. His family thought he was wasting his life, but he painted anyway. Not for success, not for approval, because it was the only way he knew how to be himself. He chose aliveness over comfort. Now compare that to someone who chose the other path. A successful lawyer, respected, wealthy, empty. He doesn't know what he wants anymore, because the part of him that once knew has been quiet for decades. That's the Ouroboros in its final form. Almost nothing left but the role. So how do you break the cycle? Not with one dramatic leap, with daily conscious choices. Every time you're about to say yes and you feel that tightness in your chest, pause. Ask, is this my choice, or just what I'm supposed to do? Sometimes you'll still choose the safe path. That's fine, but choose it consciously. Sometimes you'll choose the uncertain path. That's personal heroism. As Ralph Waldo Emerson warned, for nonconformity, the world whips you with its displeasure. It will, but the alternative is quieter and more tragic. A life that looks successful from the outside and feels dead on the inside. The Ouroboros never stops offering the cycle. The only real question is, will you keep feeding it, or will you finally step out of it?